Hey, Mr. G here, and I'm going to go over 5 different ways that should help you memorize the fretboard. When you're playing guitar, you want to be a master of the fretboard. You want to know all those notes, but it can be a really difficult task at first and maybe overwhelming. So I'm going to show you 5 different ways that some of them can even be used simultaneously that would help you memorize the fretboard. Now, one method of memorizing the fretboard is just to memorize your regular notes, meaning not the flats, not the sharps, just your regular notes. For instance, if I'm up here and I want to memorize the regular notes on the sixth string, I got my F note, which is on the sixth string, first fret. I have my G note, which is on the sixth string, third fret. And I have my A note, which is on the sixth string, fifth fret. So up to this point, I would memorize the F, the G, and the A. I would not memorize the flat or the sharp in between them. Because what will happen is once you learn your regular notes, it's just natural to understand, or it's just natural to realize what your sharps and your flats would be between those. I don't have to spend a whole lot of time here thinking to myself, man, where's my F sharp at? Because once I know what my F is, it's going to be very easily to understand where the F sharp is. It's only one fret up. Or, for instance, if I have my A here, I don't need to spend a whole lot of time memorizing where the A flat's going to be, because I know after I get an understanding of where my A note is there on the sixth string, fifth fret, it'll be really natural for my mind to have an understanding that if it's flatted, it's just going to be one fret less. So once you really spend your time memorizing your non-flat and your non-sharp notes, and you get a good understanding of where those are up and down the fretboard, it's going to be really easy to understand where your sharps and your flats are. You won't have to think a lot about it. It'll come pretty natural. So that's one method to help you memorize the fretboard. Now, another method is to look at your little, you see your little markers here on your fretboard, the third fret, fifth fret, seventh fret, ninth fret, 12th fret, and so on. You have those little circles, those little markers on your fretboard. Another way to help memorize the fretboard would be to memorize the notes on those markers. So, for example, one week I might want to try to memorize all the notes on the first through sixth string on that first marker on the third fret. The G, the C, the F, B flat, D, and G. And I can spend maybe a week or two memorizing those notes. And then once I have a good understanding of what they are, I could come up here to the next marker, which is on the fifth fret, and then take time to memorize those notes. For example, on the fifth fret here, on the sixth string, I have the A. On the fifth string, I have the D. On the fourth string, I have the G. On the third string, I have a C. On the second string, I have an E. And on the first string, I have an A. And I could spend, a week or two really getting those notes down. So I could just memorize all those notes on the markers. I got my third fret here, fifth fret, seventh, ninth, 12th, 15th, 17th, 19th, and then, all the way up your fretboard, wherever your markers are at. That's another way that you can help master the fretboard. It'll take some time, but if you put the effort into it, that's a great way to do it. Now, I'll give you a third example. A third example is you just pick a note and you look at your guitar layout diagram of all your notes on the guitar and you do note by note. I think that'd probably work coincidentally with one of these other methods, as you're maybe memorizing your markers one week. Let's say the marker on the fifth fret. You would throw in a note there to memorize along with it. And I'll show you how this works. So, for example, I have an F here on the first fret, sixth string. I also have an F here on the third fret, fourth string. I have an F here on the first string, first fret. I have an F here on the second string, sixth fret. I have an F here on the fifth string, eighth fret. I have an F here on the 10th fret, third string, and so on. I went over a lot of F notes here, but you can basically, from fret 1 to wherever your guitar ends off at, memorize a particular note. Maybe it's F one week, maybe it's G another week, but you can take your time out each week of picking one note to really nail it down. So that's the third way to help master your fretboard. Another way of mastering their fretboard is having a clear understanding that once you get to that 13th fret, it's like starting off with the first fret again. So, for example, my first fret and my 13th fret are the same notes. So if I come here in my first fret on the 6th string, and that's an F, I would know that on the 13th fret on the 6th string, that is also an F. And if I come down here on the 6th string, 3rd fret and play that G there would be like playing the G up here on the 15th fret, 6th string. So it really starts off again. You got frets 1 through 12, and then once you hit the 13th fret, it's like starting off again at fret 1. It's the same notes. So one way to kind of narrow that down is really getting those notes from frets 1 to 12 down. And then once you get that down, it's almost taking that knowledge up here to the 13th fret and using it again, applying it to these notes up here above the 13th fret. Again, it might look a little different, of course, because it's a little narrower over here. So once you have the understanding and knowledge of frets 1 through 12, you can apply that same knowledge to the frets 13 and above. So that's the fourth way of really narrowing and mastering the fretboard. And the fifth way is kind of a gimme, but I want to include it. Memorize those open strings. So strings 1 through 6, understand what they are. It's so important. It's almost like Guitar Learning 101. Memorize those notes on your open string before you do anything else. Again, all those methods are going to really help you master the fretboard and have a good understanding of all your notes on the guitar, acoustic or electric. Again, keep on jamming.